Hello, this is a short introduction how to use our SERS kit. So first we would like to replace this part with this angled one. And we do that by, the instrument should be turned off. There is a flat end close to the housing. We put one of these wrenches there, and then between these two O-rings there is another part that is flat. So you keep that still and keep this one close to the housing still, and then you rotate the other one. When it's loose, you can use your fingers to unscrew it. Now you take this 90 degree and we use a 785 nanometer laser that is potentially eye damaging. That's why this should be turned off. As an extra precaution, there is a copper blocker that flips into the way to block the beam. Because we remove the lens, we remove the safety distance. That's 1 meter. It's all in the wrist. Okay, so now when we have this in position, we put this plastic cap in position as well. We turn on the instrument, and this plastic cap is used for calibration. So inside here we have a polystyrene target. So before we do anything, we recommend that you do a calibration check, and that is more or less something like a system suitability. Here you have some options. You have, if you have not entered any users yourself, you have the default admin and default user. So we recommend that you use default admin. We have some user hierarchies, and default admin can have full access of the instrument, whereas the default user has restricted access. By using default admin, select that from the list. We get to this menu where we are supposed to enter a pin code. It's 4 digits. You change the value of the digits by using these arrow keys. And then to move between digits, you use this. The tab button, we say, an arrow pointing to the right, and the pin code is 0000. Then you just log in. To perform a calibration, you can use this quick menu button, the top right one, and you get then some quick options here. Go back one step in the menu, go to the home menu, a USB connection. If you use a USB cable, this will turn up as a mass storage device on a PC. Then you have calibrate. Select calibrate. You get make sure that this polystyrene cap is in position. You get some kind of warning because we use a potentially eye damaging laser. Then start calibration and wait. You see here that the red diode is lit when the laser is operating. And we can get a pass or fail result from this. Calibration successful. Okay. So now we can actually turn to the main purpose, and that is to perform a SERS measurement. For that, we have, with this aside, we have the SERS surfaces mounted on these washers. We have the SERS device. That's 2 parts. One part that actually fits on top of this one. So we just press this in position. It should say click. And it's important that you get this in position, otherwise you'll be out of focus. And then you have this part that is placed on top of this one. And here is where you mount the SERS target. Then we have a vial where you have a methanol, and you have inside this vial you have a stick that since there's methanol, this will be wet, and you dip this into solid samples, and then you put this here and you dissolve it. And I have prepared a sample here. We have the SERS targets that look like this on the back side, and this is the top side where you actually When you have your sample, it's fully dissolved. You open this up. You need a pair of scissors or a sharp knife. Careful not to touch the actual surface. The tip of this vial can be broken off like this. You place one drop on this. It's a bit of a large aperture, so usually you get excess of a liquid. For that reason, we have a tissue that accompanies this, where you can rinse off the excess liquid. Just do it like that. Since this is methanol, it will dry quite quickly, evaporate. In this position you have some magnets, so this should actually snap into position. Make sure that it's flat and in the correct position. It should not lean. You can see that it's still wet, so it needs to dry before we can perform the measurement. So we could prepare the instrument. Now this is pointing upwards. Be aware that this is where the laser comes out. It's only when you run SERS that we have this pointing upwards. Otherwise, in all other analyzers, this is pointing downwards into the table where you place the sample underneath. So this is, make sure that you do not lean over while it's operating, and this should be placed on top of this, like this. And then it should rotate during the analysis. So in the menu we have some options. We have a scan, screen, or identify. We use scan here too. So there are several options. In your field, it doesn't really matter what options you use. Screen is mainly for when you screen for regulated substances such as narcotics and things like that. Identify is for anything. Then you get a correlation, how well it fits. We could use the screen here. It looks a bit nicer. So now this is nice and dry. We place this top of here. We have options here to select some libraries, because our instrument always tries to match something. And here we have the narcotics library position. We select process, then proceed. Then we have this window with laser warning again. We have the settings menu. We use the auto exposure standard. The laser power should be, I use the tab button here pointing to the right to move between different options here. So laser power is set to medium. There are 3 stages whether you could have the laser running. That is low, medium and high. And scan time is automatically set since we use auto exposure standard. Before we press start, we actually press on top of this one to start the movement of the sample. So during the analysis, this will vibrate and rotate to increase the surface area, because the regions where we have the substrates absorbed at the correct position are not evenly distributed. So we have these hotspots, and by having this rotation and oscillation, we have an asymmetric movement across the surface and are more likely to capture the signal from the sample. And these should be rotating as long as this diode is shining. It is turned off now, so I could actually just turn this off. And we get the result. In this case it's cocaine, and it's a match in the library. And we can also look how well this correlates with the spectrum in the in the reference library. So this is how it's used. Thank you.
Perfekt, så batteriet är slått med också.